How do you convert columns into rows? This is one of the frequently asked Informatica scenario-based interview question in almost all interviews. If you have attended, you definitely would have got this question. There are multiple ways of achieving this, but if you have to directly answer it, you would say you would use normalizer transformation. The moment you say that, you'd get another question. Can you tell me other ways of doing it? So let's see the different possible scenarios on how do we convert columns into rows. All right, let's start by creating a mapping. So I'm in the mapping designer. So for this mapping, we'll use a source which has only 3 columns, column 1, 2, and 3. That is a single record, a sample record. And here is the data for those 3 columns. There is no header. Column 1 is employee number. Column 2 is ename. Column 3 is job. Okay. And target will also be a flat file where it will convert the column into the row, right? Click on mappings in the menu, create. Let's call this as m underscore column to row version option 1. Click OK. Let's get the source. Obviously, you'll get the source qualifier along with it. So here, what I'll do is I'll take an expression transformation, all right, and we'll pull in all these columns into expression transformation. And we will add a port here, an output port. Let's put that at the end. Let's call that as O underscore concatenation. All we are doing here in this case is we are concatenating the 3 columns. Notice I've taken the precision value as 256 just to make sure everything is processed without any truncation. And here, all I'll do is take column 1, concatenate it, and use an identifier called ampersand. What is the reason for this? What will we achieve because of this? We'll understand that in a minute. But for now, just know that this is kind of a differentiator between each column, right? So let me copy this, paste it here, select column 3. So what is happening? What will be the output of this port? You'll have column 1 ampersand, column 2 ampersand, and column 3. Okay, that will be the output port. We copy that, validate it. That's valid. Click OK, apply. OK. Now let's get a router transformation. All right. Obviously, we need to get in everything here. So I'll select from first one till the end, drag and drop, open the router transformation, go to groups and create 3 groups. First one is for column 1, second one is for column 2, third one is for column 3. Now let's try the logic. In this, we will use 2 different things. For this logic, we will use 2 different aspects. One is substring, the other is instring. What is substring used for? That's the function. Substring is used to extract a portion of the string. For example, if Informatica is the string, I can give which position you want to extract. For example, if you give substring of Informatica 3, it will fetch the values from ORM of Informatica. We'll see that as an example. What will the instring do? INSTR will give you the position number. For example, if you take the same Informatica as a string, if you ask it where is O, it'll say O is in 4th position, so it'll give you the number. Now, for this, what we will do is we'll go with substring. Okay, we'll start with that. Of course, open brackets. Take the concatenation value, which is a combination of all those fields, and from the first position, take the value INSTR in string of the same combination, which is O underscore concatenation, till it finds the ampersand value. What am I asking it to do? Find this value, whichever is selected. So it will find out column underscore 1 with ampersand value, right? Now, I don't want ampersand because that is something which I am putting into it, right? I don't want it to be part of my output. So what should we do for that? For instring, you have an option to delete 1 from the selection, which you do with -1, and you assign this value to our column 1. Okay, so this is the input, right? So that will go as an input, and the output here will be col_1. Well, col_1 from here, which is EMP number. All right, we'll talk about that. Let me copy this, validate. Syntax error, I missed a brace somewhere, probably here. Validate. That's parsed successfully. Click OK. I copied it, so I'm going to the second one, pasted it here. Now, from here, this is already considered, right? You need to get this value now, which is column 2. How do you get that? Now, earlier in the previous one, we took position 1 because that's where it should start, which is C. Now it should start at the 5th position for column 2 after the ampersand. So for that, it is a 5th position. I mean, we know that it is 5th position because I can see the data. But what if you don't know how the data can come? For example, instead of an EMP number, if it is coming as employee number, the position changes. Then your job will fail, or you'll get a truncated value and it'll not work. So instead of giving 5 here, you would do another int string to know the identifier, which is starting here. So I do an int string here of obviously the concatenated value, because that's the combination, and identify the ampersand value. When I identify the ampersand value, the output here will be something like this, _2, but I don't want the ampersand. So I do a +1, meaning from the identified ampersand, go one step right, okay, and take the value which is hit the second time. Here in the second int string, we are saying after the first instance identification of ampersand, move one step to the right, keep going till you find ampersand, and remove the ampersand which it has selected, which is this one here, and we call that as column 2. All right, so it'll be a little confusing, but once you know how the substring and int string work, it'll be easy. Click OK here. Let's go with the third option now. Let me copy this, Control-A, Control-C, and Control-A, Control-V. Now, all we need is the last column, which means you don't need to start from the beginning. Well, the easiest way to do that is find out the ampersand from the backwards, from the back of the code. How will you do that? You'll use the int string concatenation. Let me delete all this. And you're trying to identify the ampersand. So inside the bracket, comma, -1. The moment you put the -1 inside the bracket, it will start looking for the ampersand's occurrence from the reverse, which is at this position. Now, what it will do is output will be 3 and ampersand. For that ampersand to be gone, we need to move that one place to the right, which is +1. You close that, validate, that is valid. You click OK, apply, OK. So you have created 3 groups now, and within these 3 groups, column 1 is employee number, column 2 is employee name, column 3 is job. Till now, there is nothing new other than using substring and int string. So how will you convert that column to a row? That's where the union comes into picture. Okay, let's take a union, paste it here, and you'll create 3 groups. 3, let's call them as column 1, column 2, column 3. Okay, in the group ports, you'll create 1. Let's call that as input column. Click apply, click OK. Now, you have to make sure you take the right attributes. So from first group, you will take the column 1. Second group, you'll take the column 2. Third group, you'll take the third column. And for the target, tgt2 row column, which is nothing but a single header as an output, which is a flat file obviously, I'll give the input here. Before we test our mapping in the workflow to see the output, if you've noticed, we've given all the logic in the router transformation. Now, we don't know if that is right, and it'll be a little difficult to debug because you've given it in the router group. So what I'll do is, in the expression transformation, this is already given as a output. So I'll create another port, move it onto the top. Let's call that as v underscore concatenation 256. That'll be a variable, and I'll copy this and paste it here. And for the output, I'll use this variable. Now let me create 3 more output ports. O underscore column 1. This is for the substring and in-string logic output. Okay, O underscore column 2, O underscore column 3. Okay, all these are output ports. Apply OK. Let me go to the router, go to groups, select the first one, copy, I'll open Notepad, paste it here, cancel. Second one, copy, paste. I'll do the same thing for the third one, copy, paste. I'll take the first one here, take it to the logic and expression transformation, open it, paste it, validate, that is parsed. Now it is taking O underscore concatenation, right? Notice it would have already created a input port here called O underscore concatenation 1. The moment I click OK, you'll get that. Now we don't need that because we already have a variable. So I'll go into this here and change O underscore to V, which Informatica has automatically created. Well, that's correct. Click OK. Let's do the V underscore here itself. I can do a find and replace, but you know it's only a couple of them. So copy the second one. Okay. Copy the third one. Apply. Okay. Now what I'll do for this is, let's create another target. Go to target designer, targets, create, flat file, row underscore logic, create, done, and I'll put 3 columns here. This will be logic 1, logic 2, and logic 3. Apply. Okay. Okay, go back here, go to your targets. That's the logic. Get your target and connect these 3 to your target here. Alright, so this way you'll know what is the actual output, and if you have any issues, we'll figure it out easily. Okay, generally, if you have any of these complex logics, I mean, this is not a complex logic, but if you want to find out in between the pipeline without running a debugger based on your huge volumes of data or based on your complex logic, and if you want to just see what outputs are you getting in between while you're debugging or when you're doing the unit testing, you can follow this route. Once your logic is right, once it meets all the conditions, all you need to do is delete this target instance, right? Save it. Now let's create the workflow for this. So I'll go to the mappings, generate workflow, click next. All these are flat files, so it doesn't matter. I'll just remove the m underscore for the workflow, click next and finish. You can also create the workflow from your workflow manager, but you know this happens in a couple of clicks, so I prefer this. Well, it doesn't matter. So you open that, make sure you have your fail parent, go to your mappings, and for this I've created a new folder so that we can put all the files in a single directory. So that will be your target directory. So let me go to the targets and paste this here for both the targets. Go to the source, and there is a separate source directory for this, which I'll copy from here. Control C and make sure you give .txt here, else it will say there is no file it cannot find. Control S. Right click, start workflow. Alright, that's running. run properties, and the target has got only 2 records. We should get 3. We'll see why we got only 2 of them, and in the logic we got only 1. So let's go to your target directory. Let's open the output here. So you have only employee number and employee name. The third column did not show up. We'll see why. We'll see if the logic has something to show us. And if you see here, we are getting 1, 1 and job. So go to your expression here. Let's remove this column. We don't need this for the logic. Same thing goes here. And here. Well, we didn't have anything here. Apply OK. And I think the job is not coming here because in the groups we did not give is equal to column 3. Right. OK. Apply OK. Control S. Refresh mapping. Control S. Start workflow. Okay, you got 3. You got 1. Let's see both of them again. Reload. This is your logic. So your substring and instring is giving you the right options. And reload. Let me open the source file now. From the source, you're getting these as a column. Now we are converting those into a row. So that's how you can convert a column into a row. Now this is the roundabout logic, and honestly speaking, I might not implement this in a real project because there'll be other logic as well in your requirement, and only for this logic you cannot create the whole mapping, right? You have to accommodate all other logic as part of your mapping. Of course, you can add other transformations and things, but this can be easily achieved with a normalizer transformation. The whole reason we have done this is just to learn that there are other ways of doing it without normalizer transformation, and you can confidently answer that with this logic if it comes up in your interview, right? Now, before we say that we are done with this scenario, I want to quickly run the debugger just to show you how that substring logic is working. You go to the mappings, debugger, start debugger. Next, I'll use the existing session. Click on next, next again, finish. Okay, mappings, debugger, next instance. This is your source. Source qualifier is getting 3 input values: employee number, e-name, and job. Just like you have it in the source here, right? You go to the mapping again, debugger, next instance. Now we are at the expression transformation. So these 3 are your input values. Notice the concatenation with the ampersand, with the concatenation logic which we've used, and notice the differentiation of the logic. Now you can simply ask me, why don't you send all these together, because those are coming individually. But how will you separate that within the router and then connect them to union? That is the reason you are writing this logic. Now I'll right click on this, evaluate expression. This is the logic which I have saved for all 3 of them. Control C, Control V, and evaluate. Notice this is the very first one of the column where you are taking from the first position till you find ampersand. And -1 is to remove it. So just for the testing purposes, I remove -1. Great. Notice at the end, you'll get the ampersand. So you put the -1 there to remove it. Right? Now, if you check the second one, which is kind of, in the middle between 2 ampersands, right? So what you're doing is you're finding out the first ampersand. You're doing a +1, meaning leave the identified ampersand, identify the second instance of the ampersand, and leave that. So evaluate. Notice exact e-name. Now let's remove this +1 and -1 here. Evaluate. You got the ampersand e-name, right? Alright, let's get the third one. And this is like the reverse of it. I mean, you're checking the ampersand from the reverse of the string. And you're getting the exact job. So if you remove this ampersand one here, which is checking the string from the reverse, then what happened? It is giving you the first instance of the ampersand, as you've not given from where to start. It has taken it from ename, right? So the moment you put -1, comma -1, it'll take it from the reverse, from the back of the string. All right, so that's how the substring in string works. Like I mentioned earlier, in a real case, you would let go of this target and keep only this logic. Stop the debugger now. So that's a different way of setting up your conversion of columns to rows.